most watched news starts now.
Good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. It's 5 a.m. I'm Tanya Bach. Coming up this half hour, we'll have a look at today's Eye on Entertainment. And for something to talk about, we're asking, what are your favorite snow day activities? But first, a check on your forecast. All right, we'll actually get to that 7-day forecast in just a minute. But first, we need to conserve power all across the area to help utility companies and each other. Southwest Power Pool, which has dozens of member utilities, including the Grand River Dam Authority, Evergy, and Liberty Utilities, is asking those members to begin emergency electricity reductions in order to reduce the load on the network. Throughout the weekend, different utility providers began asking folks to conserve electricity and natural gas use as demand increased with the extreme cold. However, the demand has gone beyond what electricity is available, and now rolling blackouts are being implemented area-wide to ensure a total failure doesn't happen. However, there are some ways you can help reduce the demand.
Lowering the thermostat by a couple of degrees. 68 degrees is what the recommended winter temperature is. If you can lower it a little bit below that, if it's safe for you to do that, we would ask that you do that. Avoid, energy consuming activities if you can. Things like running your dishwasher, washing your laundry. If you're looking for an excuse to not do laundry, I'm giving it to you. You don't need to do it.
Liberty says they've been working with industrial and commercial customers to reduce the electricity demand. Many of us are sheltering away from the cold, but others don't have that choice, like first responders. KOAM's Bronte Sorotsky spoke with a firefighter and with a medical expert to see how essential workers are staying safe.
The 4 states are experiencing some dangerously cold weather, which is leading to preventable medical troubles. Lindsay Teal, nurse practitioner at Mercy Hospital, says being out in the cold, even for a short while, can lead to serious problems.
So one of the things we watch for with hypothermia, it tends to come on slowly, and it's kind of a creeping issue that you have slower reaction times, you have numb hands and feet, so you trip more easily, you fall more easily, and your reaction time is a little slower.
She says it also inhibits judgment, so despite thinking you're okay, you could still be feeling the effects. And while it may be safer inside, there's still many workers expected to be out in this cold weather. Joplin Fire Department Captain Adam Grimes is one of them.
Well, we're going to experience the same things everyone else is experiencing. It is freezing cold out there, and our bodies react just the same way.
He added that being out in this extreme cold is dangerous for them, especially when dealing with water.
It's not uncommon when we're fighting fire to have water and mist freeze on us, and the guys will be covered in ice, and they've got to thaw out to a degree, but we still have a job to do.
He says they make sure to get fires put out no matter what elements they face.
This is the job that we love, and we enjoy serving the community, and so it's just another challenge. I like to refer to us as we're just professional problem solvers, and this is just another problem that we deal with on a regular basis.
He says they're ready to help the community, no matter the weather. In Joplin, Bronte Sorotsky, KOAM News.
Captain Grimes says they're doing everything they can to keep firefighters safe. A water main break in Parsons, Kansas has been made worse by the bitter temperatures. It was discovered just before 8 yesterday morning. Around noon, city crews were still fighting through frozen soil to get to and ultimately repair the break. And just before 4, the city posted on their Facebook page they were able to shut down the leak, but are asking residents to conserve water. The city has also issued a voluntary boil advisory. Joplin police say shooting victim is dead. Officers say they responded to the Motel 6 on Rangeline in Joplin for a call of shots fired. When they arrived, they found 43-year-old Matthew Painter of Joplin with multiple gunshot wounds. He died later at the hospital. Authorities say the case is under investigation, and the man who police believe to be the shooter is cooperating with the investigation. Police have not arrested anyone at this point. It's 5:07. And that's a look at this morning's top stories in our first 7 minutes. Coming up on the KOAM Morning News, a new TV series for Amazon subscribers, plus things you need to know before getting a vaccine appointment from a pharmacy. And all the snow that the 4 states are seeing calls for the perfect snow day activities. You're watching the KOAM Morning News. More real news in the morning. We'll be right back. Disney's newest superhero is squirrely. Olivia Newton-John and her daughter release a new single, and the stars of one of the most romantic movies of all time finally receives stars on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. Danya Bacchus has your Eye on Entertainment report.
Who would have thought I would end up with a star on the Walk of Fame?
Ryan O'Neal and Ally McGraw now have stars on the Hollywood Walk of Fame.
Ryan and I were lucky enough to be in a film that surprised us and the whole world.
The pair played young lovers Oliver Barrett and Jennifer Cavallari from opposite sides of the tracks in the 1970 hit movie Love Story.
Love means never having to say you're sorry.
The Academy Award-nominated movie follows the young couple as they meet in college, marry, and then suffer tragedy.
We had a real warmth for each other, and couldn't wait to get started and see how far we could go.
O'Neal and McGraw received their stars together in the first virtual double star ceremony in history to celebrate the movie's 50-year anniversary. Paramount has released a newly remastered limited Blu-ray edition of Love Story, featuring commentary from the film's director, along with other special features.
The universe sent us Ulysses.
Disney's newest superhero is a squirrel. Based on the best-selling children's book, the new series Flora and Ulysses follows 10-year-old comic book fan Flora, who rescues Ulysses, a squirrel with superpowers. Flora and Ulysses streams on Disney Plus starting Friday. And Olivia Newton-John and her daughter Chloe have released a new duet called Window in the Wall. Newton-John says a woman she met at a health clinic sent her the song, which moved her because of its theme of love, forgiveness, understanding, and respect. That's your Eye on Entertainment. Danya Bacchus, CBS News, Los Angeles.
Ryan O'Neal's star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame lies between Ally McGraw's and that of his longtime partner and real-life love, the late Farrah Fawcett. Aww. Well, Britney Spears has lost her attempt to end her dad's conservatorship. Pop star's father, James Spears, has controlled her estate and finances since 2008 when she had a public mental breakdown. Last year, Spears' father stepped aside following some health issues and a temporary conservator was appointed. Spears recently went to court to ask that the temporary conservator continue in the role. A Los Angeles judge ruled against suspending Jamie Spears from the conservatorship, even though Spears' attorney told a judge she's afraid of her father and that she would not perform again if her father is in charge of her career. Emmy winners Donald Glover and Phoebe Waller-Bridge are starring in the remake of Mr. and Mrs. Smith for Amazon. Instead of a feature-length film, the remake will be a TV series for Amazon subscribers. The original 2005 action film featured Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie, loved that one, as a bored married couple surprised to learn that they are each assassins working and competing organizations and assigned to kill each other. Amazon's announcement did not include a premiere date or the number of episodes that will be produced. Still to come, the United Arab Emirates swings into orbit around Mars after a 7-month journey. Plus a check of the 7-day forecast. KOAM Morning News returns. Topping Health Watch this morning. 1 million doses of the coronavirus vaccine were sent to about 6,500 pharmacies last week. Pharmacies that had the vaccine were selected by the CDC and by states considering their ability to reach the most vulnerable Americans. Amanda Gaither has more on what you need to know before getting a vaccine appointment from a pharmacy.
As the number of Americans getting coronavirus vaccines continues to rise, vaccine supplies keep falling. But more doses have been purchased, and President Joe Biden says the U.S. is now on track to have enough vaccines for 300 million Americans by the end of July.
As supply ramps up, we're also creating new convenient locations for vaccinations. These include standing up community vaccination centers, deploying mobile vaccine units, and launching new programs with pharmacies.
The federal government began direct shipments of coronavirus vaccines to pharmacies late last week. More than half of the 1 million available doses were allocated to CVS, Walgreens, and Rite Aid. But not all stores will get the vaccine initially. In a news release, CVS said as more supply becomes available, the company will expand to additional states while increasing the number of stores offering vaccinations. The pharmacies that receive the doses will follow the state's guidelines and only vaccinate people who are eligible in that state. Appointments can be made online or by phone. At Walgreens, appointments can be booked through a vaccine scheduler, and the CVS website lets you search by state. Everyone will be able to get the vaccine at no cost, and there's normally a 15-minute wait time after getting the COVID-19 shot, which is in place to make sure people don't have an allergic reaction. For Health Minute, I'm Mandy Gaither.
The National Association of Drug Stores says pharmacies across the U.S. have the capacity to administer 100 million doses of COVID-19 vaccine in a month's time, but will need enough doses to do so. Preventing cardiovascular disease in midlife may also protect against dementia later in life. Researchers in Spain looked at scans of more than 500 middle-aged people. They found a connection between the buildup of fats and other substances in the arteries and low metabolism in regions of the brain involved in memory and learning. A potential vaccine for the mosquito-borne virus Zika is showing promise. And that's according to a new study in the Annals of Internal Medicine. In a phase 1 trial, antibody responses up to a year after vaccination were observed in at least 80% of participants. Let's look at some of today's top health stories. You're watching the KOAM Morning News. Well, it's been years since we last saw a big accumulation of snow in Kansas. You know, the type of snow that lets you get creative, be it a snowball, a snowman, or a sledding hill.
Inch by inch, foot by foot, that's how it goes. No, it's not the accumulation, the clearing of roadways, or the trails. It's that uphill climb.
It takes like an hour to get them out here with all the clothes on, so.
It's those moments.
Look at that. Look over here. Say hello.
Those little steps.
Cheese.
That lead to big memories.
All day they've been really excited for the snowstorm and excited to be out here.
For Eldon Whetstone's children, this is it.
All right, you ready? We went sledding earlier this year in that kind of wet, sloppy snow.
With temperatures now in the low teens.
This is much better snow, but it is definitely colder out here today.
Not cold, however. When it comes to Joe Watkins, as they say when in Rome, or in this case, Indiana.
First time sledding, yeah. I'm from Southeast Georgia, so we don't get too much snow. Okay. All right, you ready? Just go down. Go. Wow, this is crazy. Wow.
Only crazy if you don't come back for more.
Man, if it wasn't so cold, it'd be so fun to play in the snow. Schools are closed for today, and you may even be reading them below on the screen. If you're looking for ways to entertain your children, don't forget the parks. But be safe. Make sure if you do go outside that you bundle up. Don't stay out for an extended period of time. Make sure they have proper gloves on, stocking caps, cover their face, do what you need to do to keep them warm. Get some hand warmers too for their pockets. Well, that brings us to our something to talk about, and we have been asking what are your favorite activities to do on a snow day. Make sure you go to our Facebook and weigh in. You can also vote on our Insta poll at KOAMnewsnow.com/vote. Tell us, what are your favorite activities to do on a snow day? We'll be right back.
Watch News starts now.
Good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. It's 5:30 a.m. I'm Tanya Bach. Coming up this half hour, our own Jesse Irwin sits down with the new Director of Addiction Services with Crawford County in Mental Health. And for something to talk about on the KOAM News Now Facebook page, we're asking, what are your favorite activities to do on a snow day? Well, people across the 4 states are asked to conserve energy and prepare for rolling blackouts. KOAM's Chris Warner spoke with Liberty Utilities officials about what customers need to know.
The Southwest Power Pool, which has dozens of member utilities, including the Grand River Dam Authority, Evergy, and Liberty, are asking those members to begin emergency electricity reductions in order to reduce the load on their network. Throughout the weekend, different utility providers began asking folks to conserve electricity and natural gas use as demand increased with the extreme cold. However, the demand has gone beyond what electricity is available, and now rolling blackouts are being implemented area-wide to ensure a total failure doesn't happen.
Our first step is to work with our industrial and commercial customers. We had already been working with those customers to curtail energy use, and so we began working with those customers to shut down power. That helped, allow that energy to go back to the grid to help serve our residential customers.
We'll hear more from Kelly Price with steps you can take to help conserve energy tonight at 6. Reporting in Joplin, Chris Warner, KOAM News.
Well, through the winter storm, Ottawa County residents are coming together to help those in need. New Hope Christian Church in Miami has opened its doors and started an emergency shelter. The shelter has been open since Friday, offering 3 meals and a warm place to sleep. One homeless resident says if the shelter was not open, it would be a dire situation for many.
It'd be tough and tougher.
Yeah.
If it wasn't for this being open, there'd be a lot of people froze to death. And I mean exactly what I'm saying, because I know what it's like around here. And there are people that needs a place to be in, shelter.
Miami native Tony Holden and several others are now checking on people who don't have heat, telling them about the shelter and helping them with other needs. The church says they will keep the shelter open as long as they need to get through the winter storm. When school districts decide whether to allow buses to run, they say there is no magic formula for determining if that should happen. They'll send out drivers early to see what, if any, problems they run into.
It's hard to tell with side streets and with ice and black ice and everything else. If you don't go in actual neighborhoods, it's pretty hard to tell if everything is safe for the broader general area of the district.
The temperatures can play a role in that determination as well. If the school thinks it's unsafe for children to wait at the bus stop for more than 10 minutes, the buses will not roll. A water main break in Parsons has been made worse by the bitter temperatures. It was discovered just before 8 yesterday morning. At around noon, city crews were still fighting through frozen soil to get to and ultimately repair the break. Just before 4, the city posted on its Facebook page they were able to shut down the leak, but are asking residents to conserve water. The city has also issued a voluntary boil advisory. In southeast Kansas, truck drivers are having a hard time navigating the snow-covered roads. Many of them are using a fuel additive to keep their fuel from gelling in the cold temperatures, just so they can keep the motor running.
I live in West Texas, so yeah, I'm really not used to it. I've just heard, I called the gas station here and they told me about it, so I guess below a certain temperature it can kind of gel up on you and clog your line.
Most drivers are taking it slow, but we're seeing several cars off the roads in ditches. Joplin police say a shooting victim is dead. Officers say they responded to the Motel 6 on Rangeline in Joplin for a call of shots fired. When they arrived, they found 43-year-old Matthew Painter of Joplin with multiple gunshot wounds. He died later at the hospital. Authorities say the case is under investigation, but the man who police believe to be the shooter is cooperating with the investigation. Police have not arrested anyone. That's a look at our top news stories coming up this half hour on the KOAM Morning News.
12 months have been difficult for so many of us. We speak with James Childers, the Director of Addiction Services at Crawford County Mental Health, about what we can do to make sure the people we love are all taken care of. You're watching the KOAM Morning News. More real news in the morning. We'll be right back.
Plus, a cow on the loose runs into a hospital waiting room and attacks patients. But first, it's 5:37.
Heed Michael's warning and slow down out there on bridges. Trust me. First-hand knowledge, folks, that it's a little bit slick. Wind chill warnings in effect because if something were to transpire, it is frigid cold as we continue to try to shake it off a little bit and get a little sense of normal this morning. Temperatures right now in the minus teens, and so it's dangerously cold. That's why you always keep a blanket and some water and some food with you in your car. We'll be back right after this.
Topping World Watch, a new photo from out of this world shows a spectacular view of Mars as an Arab country reaches the red planet's orbit for the first time. CBS's Tina Kraus reports from London.
Celebrations broke out at Mission Control in Dubai as a spacecraft from the United Arab Emirates swung into orbit around Mars after a 300 million mile journey that took 7 months. And this was a view worth waiting for. The probe, named Hope, captured an image 15,000 miles above the Martian surface. You can make out the largest volcano in the solar system.
I'm truly looking forward to the scientific discoveries.
The first ever Arab mission is designed to reveal the secrets of Martian weather, but the UAE also hopes to inspire young people.
I truly hope this mission will impact an entire generation to strive to things that are even bigger.
Arriving at Mars is a huge leap for the Arab country. Until now, the nation has only sent satellites into orbit around Earth. To mark the historic mission, the UAE even gave visitors a Martian stamp in their passport. Hope will circle the red planet for the next 2 years. Tina Kraus, CBS News.
It is getting a little crowded up there. China's probe reached the planet just a day after the UAE's, and on Thursday, NASA's Perseverance rover is scheduled to land. Just introduced my son to that Matt Damon movie last night, Martian. Rockets hit outside an Iraqi international airport near a U.S. base on Monday. According to Iraqi officials, 3 rockets landed in an area between the airport and the base hosting U.S. troops. The attack left at least 1 civilian contractor dead, multiple others injured, and surrounding buildings damaged. No one immediately claimed responsibility for the attack. The rockets were reportedly launched from an area near the border with Kirkuk province. This is the first rocket launch in the area in about 5 months, but could prompt fears of new military threats. Well, a cow on the loose runs into a hospital waiting room and attacks patients. Animals surprising those in the waiting room at a hospital San Rafael in northwestern Colombia on Saturday. My goodness. People tried to avoid the cow by running into the corner, but it followed them, pinning one woman against the wall. The room was left disheveled. The cow seen shortly exiting from the hospital with, as you can see, some assistance there. Local newspapers say no one was seriously injured. The cow's owner went to the hospital to apologize for the incident. They had to pull this cow out. Look at that, Michael. Wow. There are no reports of police opening an investigation into the matter. The cow did not want to leave. This was not shortly after. Look at this. Okay, they finally got him up. Come on. All right, now he's going. Is that a revolving door the cow has to go through? That's going to be a challenge in itself.
Poor thing.
All right, that's a look at some of your biggest headlines from around the world. Let's toss it over to Michael for something to talk about.
This morning on the KOM News Now Facebook page, it's been years since we had the last bit of accumulation like not only we have right now, but remember, we've got more on the way tonight into tomorrow. So asking you your favorite activity on a snow day. We'll start with Sherry Toll, who says, stay inside, cover up with my favorite blanket, and watch TV. Charlie Brown, he likes to cook, and I bet you that's pretty darn good, too. Laura Ashby Mitchell, sit in my recliner with my heated blanket and watch it snow outside. Susie Keeper, she says sleep. Amanda Mayfield, she says stay inside. Alicia Sherman Parrish, cook, stay inside, keep the pipes from freezing. Pray for my kids and livestock to be warm and not to freeze to death. Then settle in and watch TV. Got a chicken cooking in the oven right now. Ooh, I bet that smells good at the Parrish household. She says be safe, everyone. Steve Bunce, he goes with swimming. And Betsy Stevens says, when I was younger, sledding, now that I've gotten older, sit and watch it snow. Be glad I don't have to be outside. And Heather McCord Brown, watch it from inside my cozy home and my fuzzy jammies. Feel free to leave us your 2 cents there on the KOAM News Now Facebook page. Be back with more KOAM News right after this.
Here's a check of today's top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door. The weather caused cancellations and delays of coronavirus vaccine appointments across the U.S. CDC says nearly 53 million doses have been administered out of just over 70 million distributed. Around 14 million people have been fully vaccinated. Health experts say there could be a surge in cases from variant strains of COVID-19 in the coming weeks. We need to conserve power all across the area to help utility companies and each other. Southwest Power Pool, which has dozens of member utilities, including the Grand River Dam Authority, Evergy, and Liberty Utilities, is asking those members to begin emergency electricity reductions in order to reduce the load on the network. However, the demand has gone beyond what electricity is available, and now rolling blackouts are being implemented area-wide to ensure a total failure does not happen. Through the winter storm, Ottawa County residents are coming together to help those in need. New Hope Christian Church in Miami has opened its doors and started an emergency shelter. Shelter has been open since Friday, offering 3 meals and a warm place to sleep. Joplin police say a shooting victim is dead. Officers say they responded to the Motel 6 on Rangeline in Joplin for a call of shots fired. When they arrived, they found 43-year-old Matthew Painter of Joplin with multiple gunshot wounds. He died later at the hospital. Authorities say the case is under investigation and that the man who police believe to be the shooter is cooperating with the investigation. Police have not arrested anyone. That's a check of today's top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door.
We have a wind chill warning in effect for Tuesday morning all the way until 9 a.m. as it feels about right now. 16 below in Lamar, 12 below in Veneta, and 13 below in Carthage as far as what we're looking at for the cold front as it dives so far to the south that it's almost at the Canadian border. And our highs today are going to hover in between 12 and 14 degrees. Now, we actually will see some sunshine today. That'll be a nice little change. But guess what develops tonight and into tomorrow? Yep, we've got additional snowfall coming, anywhere from 2 to 3 inches as it moves from the southwest up to the northeast here throughout Wednesday morning before tapering off during the afternoon hours. 7-day forecast. We are locked in for just a string of more cold temperatures until we finally get a little melt by the time we get to the weekend. There is light at the end of the tunnel, and we're one day closer to it. Be back with more KOAM Morning News right after this. Nice thing is we actually have a clear start, but the flip side of that, it is extremely cold out there. Remember, bottom of your screen, and not only closings, but take my word for it, folks. Road conditions are very, very important this morning. I would look them up at KOAMNewsNow.com. Thank you very much to the gentleman who did have a chain this morning and was able to retrieve me from the side of the road that I found myself on. Wind chill warning in effect for the entire 4 states. You'll notice that lasts until 9 a.m. Let's kind of talk about what we see when we've got one of those, because we're talking about dangerously cold weather and we're anticipating additional snow. We'll talk about future track here in a second. But the big thing is exposed skin, remember, can damage you in as little as about anywhere from 15 to 30 minutes. So when you do take off, heed my advice, take a blanket, take additional clothing, just keep it in the back of the vehicle with you, because you never know when you may need it. And the wind chill advisories and the winter storm warnings, they really haven't budged as far as the north-south route goes, as they work themselves all the way from the Mexican border up to the Canadian border and run right through us as well. As far as what we're looking at temperature-wise, these are true temps, not wind chills, true temperatures. 13 below in Pittsburgh, 15 below in Neodesha. Let's go 12 below right now in Carthage. And with that wind working in from the north, that means from the Freeman Health System sky camera, we sit at 13 below zero. Really, it's interesting right now with that we don't see much of a difference between our temperature and wind chill. That's kind of widespread. We do see 17 below in Yates Center and 18 below in Fort Scott. How about Nevada and Stockton as they check in at 20 below? Actually, not as bad as what it was yesterday. The cold front, as far as the contiguous 48 goes, digs all the way down to the southern portion of the United States. Does kind of take all the thunderstorm activity. It's now pushed off to the mid-Atlantic. Fair amount of snow there for the Northeast, where they also have freezing rain. And then as we turn our attention out to the west, we're going to have a very similar situation as far as what we had earlier this week, as we're going to pay attention to what's in Arizona and New Mexico right now, as it will progress across the panhandles and make its way toward us just in time for late Tuesday night and the Wednesday morning commute. In the meantime, all we're going to see are temperatures that are kind of locked in there in between 12 to 14 degrees for our afternoon high. Let's go ahead and put future track into motion as we get to Tuesday night. There it develops out to our southwest. Really doesn't get on us though until after sunset, late tonight, and then carries us. Here's the worrisome part. Carries us through the nighttime hours and going to be snowing there for the morning commute for tomorrow. Don't like the sound of that. Before it tapers off for the afternoon. So we're looking at another 2 to 3 inches here on top of what we already have on the ground. And I guess the one nice thing is at least we're headed in the right direction. I'm not going to say we're there yet, but at least headed in the right direction. Look at the 7-day forecast. We'll show you that President's Day, or excuse me, today, the day after President's Day, only about 15 degrees. But look, at least on Wednesday and Thursday and Friday, we're starting to creep up on the thermometer. As a matter of fact, Friday, the magical time where we actually get a 32. And that's going to be about a span of 9-10 days before we've seen that. And then over the weekend, yeah, we got a chance for rain, but how long has it been since we could just talk about rain and not snow, nothing freezing? 42 and 47 on Saturday and Sunday, with a chance to even get to 51 on Monday. So that will be a very welcome sight. All right, on the KOM News Now Facebook page this morning, asking you how you like to spend those winter days when you're stuck inside. This has been probably the most popular answer, is cooking. Michelle Piscini says, you did not say outside event. Indeed, we did not. Just ask how you spend those winter days. Beautiful morning, everyone. God bless and stay warm. You as well, Michelle. Judy Clement, she likes to feed the birds and drink coffee. Guy Hansen, he says he's looking for some new friends and doing that on Facebook with the wolf. Very nice guy. Kelly Dodge, thinking about selling the house, moving back to Florida. Huh. Anyone want her stuff? We'll trade for an RV. She asks, is anyone else going stir crazy? Rocky Cunningham says, I spent his winter days watching KOAM and complaining about the weather. I'm with you, Rocky. This is love you, Aunt Pat. And also, too, a little COVID team measuring stuff. Very, very nice. Glenn Ritchie, watch the news and weather with KOAM News Now, like every day. And Jason, I'm going to come back to yours. Roberta Tallman, stay inside and watch TV. And Jason Edone asking, no weather today? No, Jason. There is. There is. Which is why you should go to KOMNewsNow.com and check on your weather conditions before you leave a stoplight and your back end gets loose and you end up in a ditch. But no, Jason, we will henceforth have weather. We'll be back with more KOM Morning News right after this.
Topic that everyone should know about and be informed about is addiction and mental health and the relationship between those two. And this morning we're fortunate enough to be joined by James Childers. James is the Director of Addiction Services with Crawford County Mental Health. And James, I know this is a new title for you, and congratulations on that. And I'm curious as to what your experience has been like over your career leading up to this in terms of the relationship between mental illness and substance abuse and addiction.
You know, I have my degree in community counseling, and so like most of my training prior to entering the field was in mental health. And I really struggle to separate the two. I always have. And so like I try to approach it from a holistic standpoint, because it's that which came first, the chicken or the egg. And I guess that I struggle to work with what came first. I really look at the symptoms, and whatever the symptoms are is what we work with. And yeah, like I think that some people, you know, do work just drug or alcohol or mental health, but I feel the clients get pushed between different therapists when you do that. And I feel like it's best if you're able to kind of do a one-stop shop and treat all their needs at one place. What
is the middle of the country, you know, in terms of the issues of addiction, the issues of mental illness? I mean, how has that evolved in terms of the education about that? I mean, Crawford County Mental Health has grown significantly, and as have other centers in the area. What has that been able to provide from your perspective in terms of making a difference in the community?
You know, I think that treatment centers have always been a vital, played a vital role in community wellness. But I feel as the field has grown, and I think as we become better educated, we identify addiction as being more important to address, and so there's more funding available today. And so I think that in all, we get better services to the clients than maybe we did 20 or 30 years ago. Better trainings for the staff. And so at the end of the day, I think it's just the field is evolving and maturing probably a little bit faster than some of the other fields.
Well, we really appreciate you joining us this morning to talk about this. I want to continue our conversation not only about addiction and mental illness, but I want to talk about what you're hoping, you know, now that you're in your new role, what you're looking to accomplish. So don't go anywhere. We will continue our conversation with James here on the KOAM Morning News. We'll be right back after this.
We'll talk about our snow that's on the way for tonight into tomorrow morning here in just a bit, but I wanted to check in on our weather almanac on this February 16th, as we've already set a low temperature of 13 below zero at Joplin Regional Airport. So that record from 1958, it is a thing of the distant past for today. As a matter of fact, let's talk a little record keeping. How cold is your cold? Well, we're in the midst of record setting cold. And really, when you think about it, it's not only decades. We've got some records that are falling that are more than a century old. So Joplin breaking that record low on Valentine's Day, where it was -1. Previous low was 9 degrees in 1986. And then yesterday on the 15th, -4. Well, the previous low was 8 degrees in 1986. Now, Chanute tied the Valentine's Day low, went -2. That dates back to 36, and the February 15th record was set in Chanute 6 below zero. That's 4 degrees colder than what it was in 1936. A whole lot of sixes on the board, it seems like. Now, today's low of 13 below, well, that shatters the previous low in both locations. And if a matter of fact, we were talking about some that are more than a century old. Well, that old record goes back to 1903, not tied there in the 30s, but the original one there all the way back to 1903. Now, as far as the lowest maximum, now think about this: the coldest, highest temperature, if you will. Well, on Valentine's Day, Joplin and Chanute got to 5 and 6 degrees respectively. So that was the coldest max for February 14th as far as a record goes. And yesterday it easily got past that. Now today, at the very bottom there, today's lowest max records 10 degrees in Joplin, 9 degrees in Chanute. And I think we'll actually eclipse that. Certainly not by a whole lot, but I do think we'll get to about 12 to 14 degrees. At that point in time, I understand, what's really the difference as far as what we think it feels like outside. Let's talk about future track here. We are actually going to see some sunshine today. That'll be a little bit welcome because it's been a while since we've been able to sit back and enjoy it. Now, the cold Arctic air, nah, it's not going to go anywhere. And as we get into the night, we've got another collision course on our hands as the Arctic air collides with the Gulf moisture, and we're going to pick up another 2 to 3 inches of snow as it moves from the southwest up to the northeast. And look at that timing of it. It's going to do so just in time for the Wednesday morning commute. Now, our roads are already treacherous. They're not going to get any better by the time we get to tomorrow. However, light at the end of the tunnel, we're actually going to melt by the time we get to this weekend.
Record low temps and snow-covered roads will have the latest as another winter storm blows through the 4 states. Plus, rolling blackouts are happening in the area. What you can do to help the utility companies. And a Joplin man is dead after being found with multiple gunshot wounds.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. It's 6 a.m. I'm Tanya Bach. Coming up this half hour, 3 things you should know before you file your taxes. We'll tell you. And for our something to talk about, we're asking, what are your favorite snow day activities? But first, a check on your forecast.
We will start with wind chill warnings for the entire 4 states indicated in pink. These warnings in some form or fashion, whether it be wind chill or winter weather advisories stretching from the Texas-Mexico border up all the way to the North Dakota-Canadian border. Widespread throughout the entire central portion of the United States with right now, these are true temperatures, not just wind chills. 19 below in Chanute, 13 in Monette and Carthage, and 12 degrees below in Welch and Veneta. Live look from the Freeman Health System sky camera in Joplin. No difference in Joplin there between the temperature and what it actually feels like, even with a little northerly breeze. But at this point in time, what's the difference between what we're experiencing now and what we experienced yesterday when we saw the negative 20s? There comes a point in time where I think your body just kind of gives up and it's like, no, I don't know the difference between 13 below and 20 below. But look at that color contour and how far it digs down to the southwest. My goodness, 1 degree, what they're looking at in DFW, they won't know what to do with themselves today. As far as our weather trend goes, it's going to be up around, 12 to 14 degrees. Now, that's as good as we're going to get. But look at those right-hand panels. We've got additional snowfall that's on its way. It presents itself from the southwest tonight. Gulf moisture combining with the Arctic air, and we'll see an additional 2 to 3 inches on top of what we already have. So it'll be just in time for the Wednesday morning commute. Gotta love that. Roads are already treacherous. Best thing to do is to check at KOAMnewsnow.com for your road conditions before you take off, whether it be tonight or tomorrow morning. Now, here is a little light at the end of the tunnel, Tanya. As we progress toward Friday, we do see temperatures that head toward the magical 32-degree mark, and as a matter of fact, we're even throwing up some 40s over the weekend. And how long has it been since we've been able to look at one of those panels and say, oh my gosh, it's actually going to be rain, and it's not going to be cold enough to snow?
Oh, wow. That'll be a change, that's for sure.
A welcome change.
Yeah.
I love the overnight lows for Saturday into Sunday and Sunday into Monday.
I don't mind when it rains in the winter as long as it doesn't freeze at night.
No, and that's the great thing. Those overnight lows on those 2 days right there, those are blowing our daily highs out of the water for what we've had for the past week.
Oh, I got in my car, it said -7, and when I hit the highway, it went to -11.
Oh.
I didn't even know it could go that low. Sure did.
Oh.
It sure did. Yeah.
No, thank you.
Yeah.
I just want it gone.
Just
go away.
Oh, Jamaica?
That's it.
Where could we go? Key Largo?
I'm like, come
Where's
on,
it warm
Monday.
right now?
I'm not going to know what to do with myself when that 51 hits.
Man, that'll be nice. That'll be nice. Looking forward to that. All right, thanks, Michael.
It'll feel like spring.
People across the 4 states are being told to prepare for possible rolling blackouts as electricity demand exceeds what's produced. KOAM's Chris Warner spoke with Liberty Utilities about what to expect and how we all can help.
The Southwest Power Pool, which is made up of dozens of utility providers from the Mexico border to the Canadian border, issued a Level 3 energy emergency alert, meaning demand on all of their member utilities is outpacing the ability to produce energy. Evergy and Liberty are 2 of the major utilities in our area on the Southwest Power Pool. All of the members have been asked to implement controlled temporary emergency electricity reductions to help reduce that demand. For some, that included residential customers. Liberty officials say they're trying to avoid that.
Our first step is to work with our industrial and commercial customers. We had already been working with those customers to curtail energy use. And so we began working with those customers to shut down power. That helped, allow that energy to go back to the grid to help serve our residential customers.
Another step Liberty is taking is expanding the peak alert from beyond just the normal peak hours.
We expanded that for all hours, and we're still asking our customers to please conserve energy where it's safe to do so until midnight on Tuesday.
Price says it's important for customers to conserve as much as possible.
And we recognize it's definitely not a convenient time to conserve energy. It is bitterly cold, but we're asking this of our customers so that we can avoid longer term outages.
Price says there are a few things you can do at home that can go a long way to keeping the lights on.
Certainly lowering the thermostat by a couple of degrees. 68 degrees is what the recommended winter temperature is. If you can lower it a little bit below that, if it's safe for you to do that, we would ask that you do that. Avoid, energy consuming activities if you can. Things like running your dishwasher, washing your laundry. If you're looking for an excuse to not do laundry, I'm giving it to you. You don't need to do it.
Price also recommends turning the temperature on your hot water heater to 120 degrees. She also wants to thank customers for already doing their part in conserving energy, and she wants everyone to thank the line crews out ensuring power outages from the storm don't last longer than they need to. In Joplin, Chris Warner, KOAM News.
Some area water districts are also asking people to conserve water at this time to reduce their strain on the systems. Through the winter storm, Ottawa County residents are coming together to help those in need. New Hope Christian Church in Miami has opened its doors and started an emergency shelter. The shelter has been open since Friday, offering 3 meals and a warm place to sleep. Miami native Tony Holden and other residents are now getting the word out. They spent Monday evening checking on people without power and trying to get them some help.
This weather is so extreme, people can die tonight. And that's what, as a community, we need to come together. It's a really bad time right now for a lot of people that can't afford their electric, a lot of people on the streets, but no one deserves to suffer. And thank God for this church for setting this up.
The church says they started out with 5 gallons of soup and a pound of bacon, and now they have more food than they can use and all kinds of blankets that were all donated by the community. They plan to stay open as long as they need to. That support is awesome. 6:07.
We've got a wind chill warning lasting all the way until 9 a.m. as our temperatures right now cruising into the negative teens. Big factor for today is number one, of course, the supreme cold. We knew that was coming. Record-breaking lows that we've already set early this morning. Follow that up with some snow that will present itself late tonight, just in time for the Wednesday morning commute. An additional 2 to 3 inches on top of everything that we already have. Luckily, by the time we get to the far right-hand side and head into the weekend, we finally see temperatures above the freezing mark.
All right, that's a look at this morning's top stories and weather in our first 7 minutes. Coming up on the KOAM Morning News.
The last year has been difficult for so many of us. We speak with James Childers, the Director of Addiction Services for Crawford County Mental Health, about what we can do to make sure the people we love are taken care of. You're watching the KOAM Morning News. More real news in the morning. We'll be right back.
Plus, Duke University is gearing up for its COVID-19 vaccine trial for children, and a 12-year-old is their first volunteer. And the Toy Association just announced its Toy of the Year. You're watching the KOAM Morning News. More real news in the morning. We'll be right back. In Money Watch this morning, this is the first full week of tax season, and there are a few changes this year. The IRS says it's working to make sure you get your refund and any remaining stimulus payments quickly. Mandy Gaither has 3 things you should know before you file.
How will the pandemic impact your taxes? For taxpayers hoping for deductions, credits, and COVID-19 relief on their 2020 contributions, experts say file early.
Last year was a big year, and they're just trying to gather all their documents. So I always say, if you do have a business, make sure that from the beginning you're working with a professional.
If you didn't already receive COVID relief payments from the federal government, filing your taxes will be the best way to get that money if you're eligible. The IRS expects more than 150 million returns will be filed this year and recommends you file electronically. Experts also say it's important to know when to seek professional help.
I do believe that TurboTax or those other providers will suffice, and they are very easy and very cost effective. But as soon as you have a business, rental properties, seek professional advice.
Here's a look at 3 tax breaks you may be eligible for the first time due to COVID. 1, Congress has made changes to tax benefits like the Earned Income Tax Credit, and they've created new ones to give people and small business owners some pandemic relief. 2, small business owners who received a tax-free forgiven PPP loan may still deduct the business expenses they paid for with their money. And 3, if you're self-employed, you may be eligible to claim a new sick leave and family leave tax credit that was created by the family's first Coronavirus Response Act. For Consumer Watch, I'm Mandy Gaither.
As of now, there is no indication the deadline for filing will be extended as it was last year in the pandemic. So plan on filing by April 15th or requesting an extension. An adorable animatronic Baby Yoda is the latest Toy of the Year. It's the most innovative Toy of the Year in the industry's equivalent of the Oscars. The Toy Association gave its 2 top honors to the little green Jedi from the Star Wars TV show The Mandalorian. Made by Hasbro, it has over 25 sound and motion combinations. The award-winning toy giggles, babbles, and can wiggle its ears and raise its arm. After the Baby Yoda pretends to use the Force, which takes a lot of energy, the toy closes its eyes and takes a Force nap. Oh, so cute. That's it for Money Watch. We'll be right back.
6:17, good time for weather on the 7th from the Skywatch Storm Tracker, where we just see some light cloud cover out here to our east. No snow. That's a good thing for the time being. That's going to change, though, by the time we get to tonight into tomorrow. But this is an indicator that we're actually going to see some sunshine today of little consequence when it comes to our temperatures, as we still have a wind chill warning that lasts all the way in to 9 a.m., encompassing not only the entire 4 states, but running pretty much from the Mexico to Canadian borders. 12 below in Lamar. Let's roll 14 below in Miami, almost 20 below in Chanute right there. Live look from the Freeman Health System sky camera in Joplin. You see not a big difference there between our temperature and what it actually feels like. If I straighten that up, it looks terrible right there. My apologies. 15 below in Fort Scott. These are wind chills, but like I said, even with the north breeze, not a whole lot of difference. But look how expansive this is. The cold kicks in on the color contour, drops all the way down to the Gulf right there. They've got themselves a mess up here in the northeastern and New England portions of the United States with the freezing rain and the snow. Thunderstorm activity works off the coast right there. We're going to turn our attention to that thing that's sitting in between Arizona and New Mexico, because it's going to come up right through the Panhandle and move from southwest to northeast right through us here tonight into tomorrow morning. Highs today in between 12 and 14 degrees. We've already set a record low for this February 16th, as we've bottomed out right now at 13 below at Joplin Regional Airport. Now, as we progress through the afternoon hours, even after the sunshine, here it comes, another 2 to 4 inches of snow as it rolls up just in time for a morning commute. So remember, KOMNewsNow.com is going to have all your all your road closings right there. Little light at the end of the tunnel right here. Here's Keith Factor. Love looking at Friday, 32 degrees, and then we actually see 40s. We can get rid of some of this stuff over the weekend. Over to Jesse in Studio K.
We've learned about mental illness and addiction, and there's a lot we continue to learn. And this morning we are joined by the new Director of Addiction Services for Crawford County Mental Health, James Childers. And James, thank you for talking to us this morning about this. We really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, no, I want to start by asking you about a term that right before we started this interview, I asked you to say the term so I could try to repeat it. Here we go. Here's my attempt to say it. Neuropsychopharmacology.
That's correct.
Did it. Can you explain what that is, James? Because that is a long word that has a lot of significance in all of our lives.
Sure. Neuropsychopharmacology is basically the balance of chemicals in the brain. And I think that this is where the field of addiction is really growing more than any other area. But the medical model of addiction is really taking off. And when we break it down to the basics, pretty much anything that people can put in their body to alter their mood, their body naturally produces. And so when you get into addiction, you really start to alter these natural systems, and the systems adapt to having these chemicals on board. So when people get into recovery, it becomes really hard to experience some of the things that you should be experiencing as a quote unquote normal person, right? And so that leads to chronic relapse, and the medications that they've started developing and that like a lot of the research is pushing towards helps restore that balance at a level that is not abused. The medications really help level the person out so that then we can start to address the behavioral issues that coincide with those neurological imbalances. And, again, we want to work towards a holistic approach. I think that a lot of the stuff in the past has been, this is the way, this is the way. And I think that there's, 50 different ways to hit a golf ball, but if the end result is that you're on the green, then you're putting. And that's what we really want, is to take that holistic approach, however the client or whatever the client may need is what we want to be able to offer.
That's incredible. So to think that has really shaped how Crawford County Mental Health and how, in your new role, you plan to sort of tackle these. Is that how game-changing is that when it comes to something as widespread as mental illness and as popular as addiction?
I think it's huge. Like, there's really no other way to put it. And for the clients, it's the chronic relapsing, really low self-esteem because they feel like they just can't get it, and you get the right medication for them, and it's like a switch flips. And it no longer is about willpower, and they have the ability to start doing these things they never felt like they could do. And so, every one of those is a huge victory.
Well, James, we really appreciate you taking the time to speak with us this morning. We're going to have information on our website at koamnewsnow.com about Crawford County mental health, addiction, and mental illness. So, James, thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, we'll be right back on the KOAM Morning News right after this.
Topping Health Watch this morning, a pediatrician's son in Durham, North Carolina is making headlines for his bravery. Although being only 12 years old, the preteen volunteered for the Duke University COVID-19 vaccine trial for children. Christine Gutierrez talks to Dr. Richard Chung, the school's director of adolescent medicine, about his son's involvement in the life-changing trial.
These trials are critical.
For pediatrician Dr. Richard Chung, the health and well-being of children is of the utmost importance, especially when it comes to his two sons. His oldest, Caleb, wanted to do more than just quarantine at home during a pandemic, so he volunteered to be a part of Duke's trial.
And I think for him at age 12, to have that experience, right, of kind of taking back control from the pandemic, at least for a brief moment in time, I think is pretty cool.
Duke is testing Pfizer's vaccine on children between the ages of 12 and 15.
I think 2,000 kids in the Pfizer group here at Duke. And so that's a lot of young people who are really doing something great on behalf of all of us.
Dr. Chung tells us Caleb received his first dose in December. His second dose was in January. Caleb says he was tired and had some headaches shortly after, but is doing great. Right now, Caleb doesn't know if he received the real vaccine or the placebo.
My understanding is kids are about a quarter of our population. And so they're in pretty much every household. They are, in some places going to school and out in the community. And so we need to cover them and get them immune.
And Caleb tells his dad he's just glad to be a part of something bigger than himself. That's a look at some of today's top health stories. You're watching the KOAM Morning News.
This is kind of a welcome sign here from the Skywatch Storm Trackers. We don't have to worry about any snow. We don't even have to worry about cloud cover. An extremely clear morning. Now, at the same point in time, it's still dangerously cold as our wind chill warnings persist all the way until 9 a.m. as we sit anywhere from about, 20 below there in Chinook to 10 below in Nevada. As far as what we're going to have for a high today, 12 to 14. That's as good as we're going to see. And the snow on the ground, well, not only is it not going to go anywhere, let's go ahead and throw some more on it. Even though we're going to get sunshine today, we've got a system that's building off to our far west, sitting in between New Mexico and Arizona right now. And as it progresses through the Texas and Oklahoma panhandles, it will make its way toward us. Going to move from the southwest up to the northeast, an additional 2 to 4 inches of snow here, just in time for the good old Wednesday morning commute. As it passes through, at least we're going to be headed in the right direction. We will find some silver linings in the 7-day forecast, and that will present itself at the freezing mark come Friday. We'll take it. Saturday and Sunday, yeah, it may rain, but at least it's going to be up into the 40s, and then we can look towards the 50s by the time we get to next week. All the latest on the Skywatch weather app.
Record low temps and snow-covered roads will have the latest as another winter storm blows through the 4 states. Plus, rolling blackouts are happening in the area. What you can do to help the utility companies. And a Joplin man is dead after being found with multiple gunshot wounds.
The 4 states most watched news starts now.
Good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. It's 6:30. I'm Tanya Bach. Coming up this half hour, winter storms have added a new challenge on dispersing the vaccine to states. And for our Something to Talk About on the KOAM News Now Facebook page, we're asking, what are your favorite activities to do on a snow day? But first, to check on your forecast.
We're not done with the winter weather. We got more snow on the way. If you look at where it's in New Mexico and Arizona right now, that's going to dig through the panhandles and make its way toward us. But for the time being on this Tuesday morning, we're actually off to a beautiful, clear start. That being said, it's still dangerously cold. Wind chill warning lasting until 9 a.m. even after it expires. The best thing to do is to stay inside today. We have temperatures. These are not wind chills. These are actual temperatures. 19 below in Chinook, 13 below in Carthage, and let's roll 16 below in Miami. Look from the Freeman Health System sky camera in Joplin, where it's right now minus 13. Not a whole lot of difference between our wind chill and our actual temperature. We do see a minus 20 up there in Yates Center. Look at the color contour and how far the old polar vortex has dug all the way down to the Gulf of Mexico. 18 degrees in New Orleans. My goodness. All right, so here's what we've got for our weather trend here in the 4 states. Highs in between 12 and 14 degrees. That's about it. Let's talk about what we've got tonight into tomorrow morning, because it's going to come in just in time for the good old Wednesday morning commute. Another 2 to 4 inches on top of what we've already got, because our snow that's on the ground right now certainly can't go anywhere with as cold as it's going to remain. 7-day forecast shows you that we're going to stay below freezing here all the way until Friday. Friday is going to be we won't know what to do with ourselves. Throw up a 32 right there. How about 40s over the weekend? Yeah, we're going to get rain, but at the same point in time, a far cry from what we've had for about the past 10 days. I'll take 40s and rain. I'm good.
I will too at this point.
I'm good.
I'd prefer 70s, but I don't think I'm going to get that.
75 sunny, San Diego.
I'd take an 80. I can't wait till May.
Yeah, honestly, though, Tanya, when we get from Friday, Saturday, Sunday, one thing we are going to have to talk about with the additional 2 to 4 coming tonight, what's on the ground and the rain, we're pretty much going to go from winter weather advisories, wind chill warnings, et cetera, to probably flood advisories.
It is what it is. Yeah. Just always be prepared, that's for sure.
I'm really going to eyeball the Mississippi. I think it's going to be trouble.
Okay, we'll keep our eye on that. Thanks, Michael. We need to conserve power all across the area right now to help utility companies and each other. Southwest Power Pool, which has dozens of member utilities, including the Grand River Dam Authority, Evergy, and Liberty Utilities, is asking those members to begin emergency electricity reductions in order to reduce the load on the network. Throughout the weekend, different utility providers began asking folks to conserve electricity and natural gas use as demand increased with the extreme cold. However, the demand has gone beyond what electricity is available, and now rolling blackouts are being implemented area-wide to ensure a total failure doesn't happen. However, there are some ways you can help reduce the demand.
The thermostat by a couple of degrees. 68 degrees is what the recommended winter temperature is. If you can lower it a little bit below that, if it's safe for you to do that, we would ask that you do that. Avoid, energy consuming activities if you can. Things like running your dishwasher, washing your laundry. If you're looking for an excuse to not do laundry, I'm giving it to you. You don't need to do it.
Liberty says they've been working with industrial and commercial customers to reduce the electricity demand. Well, some Northeast Oklahoma residents are pulling together to help neighbors weather the storm. KOAM's Zach Dodge has the story.
70-year-old Miaman Dale Garrett enjoys a meal in a warm environment, something that's harder and harder to find as the temperatures outside stay hovering around zero.
If it wasn't for this being open, there'd be a lot of people frozen to death.
The last couple of days and nights, he stayed at New Hope Christian Church in their emergency shelter.
They've done a great job for my part.
I sent out a Facebook request to set up a church, and Judy called within 2 hours and they had this place set up.
We have a core group of people who stood up and said, I will be there to help. I'll cook, I'll do whatever we have to do. What do you need us to do?
The shelter's been open since Friday, offering 3 meals a day and a warm place to sleep for anyone that needs it. Miami native Tony Holden says before the shelter was opened, hotels gave out hotel rooms and even rented a hotel block, but they all filled up quickly since there's no homeless shelter in Miami. Now that they have the shelter, he and other residents, including the mayor, are getting the word out.
People are turning in addresses for people that they're worried about, and just trying to make sure if they have heat.
One of those residents doesn't have water or electricity, partly because of rolling blackouts, and has a son with autism.
We've got a great shelter. It's a new church, and it's food and cots, and it's a real nice place to be.
Only thing is, he won't leave.
So now Holden plans to find a way to help her and keep trying to get people without heat to come to the shelter.
A really bad time right now for a lot of people that can't afford their electric, a lot of people on the streets, but no one deserves to suffer. And thank God for this church for setting this up.
In Miami, Zach Dodge, KOAM News.
Church plans to stay open as long as necessary. Miami residents have also offered to take people to the store for groceries and other necessities. And this evening, yesterday evening, a group of volunteers drove around the county to find people who didn't have electricity so they could take them to the shelter. Love watching that community help each other out. That's a look at our top news stories. Coming up this half hour on the KOAM Morning News, federal response to COVID-19.
Race to vaccinate is intensifying as new variants of the coronavirus are being discovered here. I'm Deborah Alfrone in Washington, where President Biden is preparing to talk about his pandemic response plan tonight.
Plus, for our something to talk about on the KOAM News Now Facebook page, we're asking what are your favorite activities to do on a snow day? We let you weigh in, but first, it's 6:37.
Get ready for another snow day come Wednesday, or Thursday, excuse me. We'll start with today, 12 to 14 degrees. That's as good as we're going to get now late tonight into tomorrow, just in time for the commute. An additional 2 to 4 inches of snow is going to fall. At least by the time we get to Friday, we can talk about reaching the freezing mark and then 40s over the weekend. So let's look ahead to that. Back with more KOM Morning News and Nation Watch next.
Topping Nation Watch this morning, President Biden is set to field questions from Americans tonight about the coronavirus pandemic during an hour-long primetime town hall event. Nearly 40 million Americans have had at least one COVID-19 vaccine shot, and more than 14 million have had both doses. Many states are expanding access to the vaccine, but supplies are running short, and winter storms have added new challenges. Deborah Alfarone reports.
The winter storm that knocked out power in parts of Texas did not spare a public health facility in the Houston area. When their backup generator failed, they sent thousands of vaccine doses out to local hospitals, a university, and a jail for immediate distribution.
We got to work under the mission to avoid losing those vaccines with the loss of power, and we quickly put together a plan to allocate and to salvage them.
The race to vaccinate more Americans has intensified, even as COVID cases are dropping in nearly every state. Health officials point to new variants that could spur a new surge in cases.
The next 14 weeks, I think, will be the worst of the pandemic.
New York is treating its first case of a variant initially discovered in South Africa, and a group of scientists have discovered at least 7 homegrown variants.
They may have little subtle effects on how well the virus colonizes a human respiratory tract.
President Biden will weigh in on the pandemic and his administration's response in a televised town hall tonight in Milwaukee. He's expected to take questions from a socially distanced audience made up of Democrats, Republicans, and independents.
Mr. Biden said last week his administration had bought enough vaccine doses for 300 million Americans by the end of July. Many cities are now prioritizing school teachers, including Chicago and Sacramento.
With them getting vaccines, I'm so excited that we may be able to go back sooner rather than later.
California also hit a grim milestone. COVID-19 has killed more than 47,000 people in the state, the highest death toll in the nation. Deborah Alfarone, CBS News, Washington.
Officials at the San Diego Zoo say 8 gorillas who contracted COVID-19 last month have made a full recovery. That's a look at today's top national stories. Let's check back in with Michael for something to talk about.
Thank you, Tanya. With all the snow that we've had on the ground and more to come, an additional 2 to 4 inches headed our way for tonight into tomorrow morning. Our Something to Talk About on the KOM News Now Facebook page. What's your favorite activity to do on a snow day? Overwhelming response, I really think, has been in the kitchen cooking. Becky Mangarelli says, I used to love to ski, but I'm getting old, so now my snow hobbies include breaking ice, bedding down animals, and throwing an occasional snowball at workers. Take that, Becky. Get them. Mary Hembrow says, at this temperature, stay at home with my baby G, that 4-legged baby. If I could build a snowman, I would. But yeah, that snow's too dry. Stay safe and warm. You as well, Mary. John Simon, he says, I like to sleep in. Braden Horst, feed and water the birds in the frozen bird feeder. Stephen Aldridge, no snow day right there. Working. Scotty Thurman, been in bed under the covers for 2 days, missed work due to bad roads, fighting a cold since Saturday, so I haven't been active, just stayed inside where it's warm. And a little shout out to the KOM crowd, says stay warm during the cold weather. Scotty, not only you stay warm, but get better, my friend, get better. Kelly Dodge says I'm better off bored on the beach next to the ocean than surrounded by snow cooked up in the house. I got you on that one. Molly Wiseman says, pretty sure today is going to be a bed and hot chocolate day with the fur babies. Even the babies don't want to go out. Can't blame them. Good morning, Stace. We say good morning, Molly. Be back. Let's celebrate birthdays and anniversaries right after this.
We take this time to honor today's four-state hero, Airman Lester Leeming, who was a member of the United States Air Force. He served from 1965 to 1967, his hometown, Jasper, Missouri. We are proud to salute Lester Leeming, our four-state hero.
Stop with Maya Courtney, who celebrates her 12th birthday. And Miss Maya, a very happy birthday to you. And I want you to know this comes with a special note with love from Mom and Juju.
All right, and we have Alexis Gilpin turning sweet 16 this year. Happy birthday to Alexis. Love Nana and Grandpa.
Ariana Thompson, a sweet 16 as well. I love when the balloons come out right there. Ariana, she celebrated her sweet 16 yesterday, but we're going to carry the party in on today as well.
Well, there's a party going on in St. Paul, Kansas, because Grant Hutcherson is now 21 years old. Happy birthday, Grant.
Brett McGee, celebrating a 25th birthday. Wait, hold on. I'm too far away from the monitor to... What we got there?
Looks like his name. Over...
Me and McGee, I get it. Little Bobby McGee reference. I like it. I like that. That's good. Happy birthday, Brett.
Okay, we like that. All right, and we've got Cyrasia Gordon turning 27 years old in Pittsburgh. Hope you have a great birthday, Cyrasia. And I know you will because you're going to be celebrating it with your son, Grant, who is also celebrating a birthday. 1 year old for Grant.
Too cool right there. Brian Collins, he's celebrating his 59th birthday. And I'll tell you what, that's a great picture right there. A little bit cold to be doing that today, but it harkens back to warmer and easier times. Brian is the facilities director at Parsons State Hospital. And that picture that we're looking at right there, that was taken at the Talamina Trail in western Arkansas. Brian, what a marvelous photo, and a very happy birthday to you and Parsons.
All right, love coming from the family out in Carthage for Gail Irwin, who's now 64 years old. Hope you have a great one, Gail.
And we've got a birthday for Miss Rose Kern. Happy birthday to Rose. She is celebrating her 92nd birthday. Rose is in Pittsburgh.
All right, Linda Garrison celebrating a birthday in Columbus. Hope you have a great one. Happy birthday, Linda.
Jan Allen, a happy birthday in the bus. And Mike Rebo, he is celebrating a birthday in Iola. Happy birthday, Mike. Happy birthday, happy anniversary to all. That's where you send them into. Here's Tanya Bach with a very important birthday announcement.
That's right. You can be a part of the KOAM Birthday Club. All you have to do is go to our website and sign up. And once you do, you'll get a bunch of deals from local advertisers. Go to KOAMnewsnow.com/birthdays and sign up for the KOAM Birthday Club today.
Wind chill advisory in effect until 9 a.m. Highs today in between 12 and 14 degrees, and then we turn our attention to overnight into tomorrow as snow is currently developing out in New Mexico and Arizona, work its way through the panhandles, an additional 2 to 4 inches on top of what we already have on the ground, taking us through the Wednesday morning commute. All your latest closings and road conditions, KOAMnewsnow.com. We'll be back right after this. KOAM News Now Facebook page this morning asking you about your favorite activity on a snow day, because we've got more coming for tonight into tomorrow morning. Sherry says staying inside, except for clearing off the bird feeder, and staying warm. Thankful I'm still working from home and not driving to the office. Sherry, I'm glad to hear that as well. She does say, side note, if you have to be out, be very careful and be safe. I found out last weekend how much airbags hurt. Sherry, I hope you are feeling better, my friend. I always appreciate when you write in. Terry Smith, fuss and complain. I hate winter. Terry, I think you're echoing the sentiments of many of us who are tired of freezing cold and want this snow and ice to go away. Tanya.
Says you can only wear so many pairs of long underwear.
Come on, 40s.
We're ready
Come on,
for a
weekend.
warm-up. Yes. All right, here's a check of today's top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door. The weather caused cancellations and delays of coronavirus vaccine appointments across the U.S. The CDC says nearly 53 million doses have been administered out of just over 70 million distributed. Around 14 million people have been fully vaccinated. Health experts say there could be a surge in cases from variant strains of COVID-19 in the coming weeks. We need to conserve power all across the area to help utility companies and each other. The Southwest Power Pool, which has dozens of member utilities, including the Grand River Dam Authority, Evergy, and Liberty Utilities, is asking those members to begin emergency electricity reductions in order to reduce the load on the network. However, the demand has gone beyond what electricity is available, and now rolling blackouts are being implemented area-wide to ensure a total failure does not happen. Through the winter storm, Ottawa County residents are coming together to help those in need. New Hope Christian Church in Miami has opened its doors and started an emergency shelter. The shelter has been open since Friday, offering 3 meals and a warm place to sleep. Joplin police say a shooting victim is dead. Officers say they responded to Motel 6 on Rangeline in Joplin for a call of shots fired. When they arrived, they found 43-year-old Matthew Painter of Joplin with multiple gunshot wounds. He died later at the hospital. Authorities say the case is under investigation and that the man who police believe to be the shooter is cooperating with the investigation. Police have not arrested anyone. That's a check of today's top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door.
Another frigid cold day in the 4 states. Highs in between 12 and 14 degrees. Right now we're sitting with a wind chill warning that lasts until 9 a.m. Even though we're going to have sunshine today, can't combat the Arctic air. And then we've got snow that rolls in late tonight, early tomorrow morning, stays with us for the morning commute, an additional 2 to 4 inches on top of what we already have on the ground. 7-day forecast. We will be headed in the right direction after tomorrow's snow, as even though we have Wednesday and Thursday in the 20s, we hit the freezing point on Friday, and then finally the 40s over the weekend.
I don't know about you, Michael, but I am ready for a warm up this weekend, that's for sure.
Can't get here fast enough.
Yeah.
I'm so with you. Like I said, I'm not the rain on Saturday and Sunday. I'm all for that. It's going to be in the 40s. All right, your morning news continues on KOAM. We got CBS Morning News. That's coming up next.
Or you could switch on over with us on Fox 14, where your only local morning news continues.
This morning, Jesse talking about mental health. And also, too, new addiction counselor, and kind of putting those two together. Really interesting interview. And on not only that, especially about how he tackles it on an individual basis. It's not one size fits all. You're not going to want to miss that interview. That wraps it up for this edition. Want everybody to have a great, safe day. Remember, closings bottom of your screen, KOAMnewsnow.com, with not only closings but road conditions. Have a great, safe Tuesday. We'll do this all again tomorrow morning.
And we're going to do it again today at noon.
Today's Pledge of